KARD Fox 14, West Monroe, Monroe. News ticker brought to you by Hopkins Chevrolet Cadillac.
Good evening, I'm Laura Monserrati. Teresa LaBarbera has the night off. Straight ahead on Fox 14 News at 9, Congressman Bobby Jindal was in Monroe today discussing Louisiana's needs. But was a run for governor also on his mind? And keep your eyes open and keep your pocketbooks closed. There are new scams making their way into your town.
Good evening, I'm Fox 14 Chief Meteorologist Tom Pearson. Will we see another warm or hot day tomorrow, or are some cooler temperatures on the way? The forecast details in a couple of minutes.
Join us for these stories and more. Fox 14 News at 9 starts right now.
The right news at the right time. This is KARD Fox 14 News at 9.
Thank you for joining us. Will U.S. Representative Bobby Jindal run for governor? That is our top story this evening. Congressman Jindal met with the Monroe and West Monroe Chambers of Commerce today, urging leaders to take advantage of the attention and money coming into Louisiana after the hurricanes. As the former president of the University of Louisiana system, Jindal says Northeast Louisiana needs to address the classrooms, citing discipline as a priority for schools in order to let our teachers know they are not alone. Because of the constant rumors, we couldn't help but ask the congressman if he plans on running for governor.
You know, I'm pleased. I'm certainly delighted, flattered by the support we're getting. We'll make that decision next year. I don't think it's appropriate right now for us to be engaging in politics. We have a lot of work to do as we rebuild our state. We've got to do it in a bipartisan way. We'll make that decision next year. I'm certainly flattered by the support I get, flattered by the fact we did very well here last time. Very much appreciate people's support.
Another issue Jindal brought up was a bill he says he's trying to pass that would give Louisiana its fair share of $2 billion in oil and gas royalties. Well, the New Orleans live televised mayoral debate began this evening at 8 p.m. on MSNBC. There are 8 mayoral candidates participating in the event. The first question asked was, if you were mayor, what would you do first if another Hurricane Katrina were to hit? The moderators of the event were MSNBC's Chris Matthews and WDSU's Norman Robinson. And if you missed it tonight, our sister station, KTVE, will rerun the debate Saturday morning from 4:30 to 5:30 a.m. And the debate is the subject of tonight's web poll question. Do you think nationally televising the New Orleans mayoral debate will affect the election? Yes, no, or maybe. Log on to our website, KARD.com, and let us know what you think. Then tune in tonight to our sister station, NBC 10 News at 10, to see the results. The Monroe Chamber of Commerce has announced its support for the upcoming Monroe City Schools tax renewals, and they're asking you to join them. The 2 propositions will be on the upcoming ballot later this month to provide maintenance and operation of city schools. Monroe City Schools Superintendent Dr. James Dupree says the passing of these taxes are absolutely crucial to avoid making drastic cuts. Dupree says if passed, the 2 propositions would equate to about $5 a month for homeowners of about $100,000 worth of property. Absentee voting has already begun and will last until Saturday, and the actual election is set for Saturday, April 29th. And there's a new scam on the loose in the Arklamas, and officials want you to be on alert and informed about what to look out for. Fox 14's Keedron Dotson has the latest.
You're looking at a multi-million-dollar check that's making its way to residents in northern Louisiana. And so is this cash, along with scores of other scams that are turning vulnerable people into the latest victims. At the Better Business Bureau, the work is increasing by the day.
The things that I deal with every day on these sweepstakes are the numbers of calls. We can get from 5 to 15 or 20 calls a day.
Lawson says the latest lie is called the $20 scam. And believe it or not, it works fairly easy.
Enemies throwing things in your way. God have given me an answer for you. The money
and with the
back.
promise of answers and fine print, the 20s begins to flow.
Because it will tell you that by sending in your check, you're giving us or authorizing us to draw another $20 out of your checking account.
Officials say the first line of defense is watching your mail. And if something seems funny, it probably is.
Whenever I get junk mail like that, usually I don't even open it. I just trash it. And sometimes I do open it and read it and just kind of laugh and think, you've got to be kidding.
And that's exactly what many of them are doing. But to catch the joke, you have to be ahead of the game.
So they tell you in the fine print right there that you're not going to get any money. So when you read the fine print, it covers everything.
And officials say that if you suspect anything that seems out of order, you can always look up the company to make sure everything is legal. Their website is www.bbbnel.org. And the man who caused a fatal wreck in Monroe has pleaded not guilty to murder charges. 22-year-old Jataz Warren was driving the car that hit a van at a red light on Highway 165 last month. All 3 people inside the van were killed. A witness told police he and a woman inside were fighting as they sped recklessly down the highway. Warren is now charged with 3 counts of second-degree murder. And jury selection started today for a Calhoun man who's charged with murder. Nathan Jolly is accused in what police describe as the violent death of Johnny McGow of West Monroe. McGow was found dead in his home off Highway 15 back in 2002. Jolly has pleaded not guilty.
Now, KARD News weather with live storm track Doppler.
Well, it was a warm day today, and if you don't believe me, just take a look at this graphic. This is the high temperatures across the region today. Even warmer to our west, well into the 100s across much of Texas and even into Oklahoma. But we won't be in the hundreds anytime soon, but it looks like we will be back into the 90s once again. In fact, here's a look at the current conditions right now. We've got clear skies with readings about 76 degrees, and we'll have more weather just ahead.
Now, your local sports from the Fox 14 Sports Center.
Well, Tyrus Thomas and Glenn Davis led LSU to the promised land this year. The Tiger tandem brought LSU to the Final Four for the first time in 2 decades. But the looming question was always, would they be back to do it again? The answer coming today, Big Baby will, Thomas won't. Tyrus Thomas had an unreal year at LSU. He was the SEC Freshman of the Year and Co-Defensive Player of the Year. He held up his end of the bargain in the tournament, too, earning the Atlanta region MVP. Some online publications have Thomas going as high as the #1 overall pick in the draft. As for Davis, the sophomore was named the LSWA Louisiana Player of the Year. He averaged 19 points and 9 rebounds this past season, but he had repeatedly said after the Final Four that he would come back to LSU. He made that official today. More sports coming up later in the newscast.
And we're just getting started here on Fox 14 News at 9. There's plenty more news, weather, and sports coming up. Stay tuned. You're watching Fox 14 News at 9, the right news at the right time for Snyder, Jones, and Gardner.
KARD Fox 14. Internet services provided by Bayou Internet. You're watching Fox 14 News at 9 with Teresa LaBarbera, Chief Meteorologist Tom Pearson, and Sports with Chris Mykowski. Now, Fox 14 News at 9 continues.
In your education news, each Monday we pay tribute to area teachers and administrators for going above and beyond the call of duty. Tonight, Rachel Goad introduces you to Vicki Williams. She has a style that has really paid off.
Any teacher wants their students to do well, but for Shady Grove Elementary math specialist Vicki Williams, she wanted her 4th graders to really excel on the LEAP test. In just her first year at Shady Grove, she set out to make sure her students were prepared.
Then when they do realize that they can do things, it opens up a whole new world. And that's what I like, the excitement and the fun.
Mrs. Williams' innovative teaching style has proven success in the classroom. With the help of thinking maps and classical Mozart, her 4th graders scored the 2nd highest math LEAP scores in the state.
I knew that they were going to do well. I had no idea that well. So the first thing I said was, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God, you know.
And thanks to Mrs. Williams, her preparation allowed these fourth graders to be record setters.
They have power over their destiny, and it's what they choose and how they choose to decide what destiny they're going to have.
And these students' futures look bright, thanks to Mrs. Williams, this week's NBC 10 Wendy's Educator of the Week. In Monroe, Rachel Goad reporting.
And congratulations to Mrs. Williams. Still to come on Fox 14 News at 9, Tom will have your work week forecast. So stay tuned. You're watching Fox 14 News at 9, the right news at the right time for Collinston, Bearden, and Holly Ridge.
Today's Educator of the Week is brought to you by Wendy's. Weather brought to you by Lee Edwards Mazda and Used Car Superstore, where you spend less and get more. Now, KARD News weather with live storm track Doppler.
Tom Pearson joins us now for weather, and I must say, as the temperatures go up, my mood goes down.
Definitely some temperatures are going up, and stay away from Laura tomorrow because it'll be even warmer tomorrow than it was today, and we'll get to that in just a minute. First, let's take a peek outside with your Singular Wireless. CityCam 14, mostly clear skies, but it is a little on the warm and muggy side. And we'll see that in some of the current conditions coming up in just a second. As we check out the forecast for tomorrow, we'll be looking at some clouds around in the morning, probably similar to what we've had over the last several days, but I don't anticipate them staying around too much more than about, say, mid to late morning. And it will be continued warm with high temperatures in the low 90s and south winds at about 5 to 15 miles per hour. Numbers for today, just shy of the record. Those low clouds hung around a little bit longer than anticipated in the Twin Cities, consequently only made it to 89, 1 degree shy of the record. However, you folks in El Dorado got a little bit more sunshine, so a little bit more warmth, and a new record. A record high today of 91. Your old record was 90, and that went all the way back to, I believe, 1925, so that was a long-standing record. A record low for the state, not as old, only 7 years old, and it was 39 degrees. Other temperatures around the region right now in the 70s, even a few 80s still showing up here and there. Again, 76 in Monroe, 78 for El Dorado, and in the 80s to our west, 83 right now, Texarkana and Tyler. High temperatures today across parts of Oklahoma and Texas, as I said earlier, into the 100s, well into the 100s. Dallas, for instance, 101. Laredo, the hot spot in the country at 108. That's right, 108 degrees in April. Otherwise, dew point temperatures have increased quite a bit, as expected, certainly now into the uncomfortable category with readings in the upper 60s to around 70. So if you felt a little muggy today, that's the reason why. Well, we have one departing system on the Atlantic seaboard, so no problems there. In fact, much of the eastern half to two-thirds of the country, pretty nice weather, although another powerful system headed through the northwest that'll be moving through the plains, probably some more severe weather over the next day or two for those folks, but looks like it will stay far enough to the north that it won't really bother us too much. So a warm and kind of muggy night tonight, low temperatures in the upper 60s, highs tomorrow in the low 90s. We'll be close to a record high, the Twin Cities, a record high tomorrow, 93 degrees, but then cooler after that and some scattered showers possible Thursday through next Monday. And again, it won't rain all places all the time, but certainly a threat here and there of some scattered showers and maybe a thunder shower or two. Overnight lows should remain in the 60s.
Thank you, Tom. Well,
Sure.
Today was the 110th running of the Boston Marathon. In tonight's Fox 14 Health Watch, Judy Fortin tells us how to get in shape for a big race.
What does it take to be one of the 20,000 athletes competing in the world's oldest marathon? It takes years of conditioning if you're an elite athlete. But if you're an amateur runner wanting to tackle a 26-mile Boston Marathon course, don't start training at the last minute. And orthopedist Dr. John Zaroyan suggests starting with a shorter race.
To run a half marathon, you have to have 3 days a week that you're going to dedicate yourself to jogging, and you have to give yourself 6 months. And each time you have a long run, a medium run, and maybe a short run.
For a casual runner, 6 months may seem like a long time, but Dr. Zaroyan says you need that much time and a good plan to condition your body. While he doesn't discourage people from jumping into a race if they're in good health, he says oftentimes false expectations can lead to injury.
You have people doing that, and then you end up seeing me on the day after the marathon.
With today's Health Minute, I'm Judy Fortin.
Time now for a look at the latest farming news and a wrap-up of today's market prices. So we turn to Fox 14 Farm Director Chris Kimball.
Good evening. Hawaii is ahead of many U.S. states in preparing for a possible global flu epidemic. With thousands of tourists arriving daily, many from Asia, officials in Hawaii have been the first to start an airport flu monitoring program. And you can understand why they want to be prepared. Hawaii's early history is filled with the ravages of disease. After Captain James Cook arrived in 1778, Cook's crew and the Europeans who followed brought smallpox, measles, and syphilis, all diseases that were devastating to the islanders. Today, the fear is over the potential for a deadly flu epidemic. Hawaii is very concerned in and about the fact that they are the western doorway to the United States, seeing a large number of visitors every day, many from the Far East, where a large number of emerging diseases are originating. The Honolulu Airport's program to examine incoming passengers on a voluntary basis was announced in November, making Hawaii the first state to monitor airports for signs of bird flu and other flu viruses. No one knows if there will be a global flu epidemic, but Hawaii is not waiting to find out, and they are in the lead of state level and local level preparations. Now let's take a look at today's closing markets.
First, League Lights, brought to you by Hickson Autoplex. Now, your local sports from the Fox 14 Sports Center.
Sports anchor Matt Lincoln joins us now. Matt, a big day for women's softball.
That's right, Laura. A big day for school softballers all over Louisiana after a long, grueling regular season. The tournament starts right now. Most of the first-round games getting going tomorrow, but a few scattered games today. And two Arklamas foes battling in Delhi as Oak Grove took on Delhi Charter. First inning, Oak Grove threatening. India Gunter grounds out to short. Nice play out there at shortstop, but a run does come home to score. It's 3-zip after half of an inning. Bottom one, runners on second and third. Casey Brownell hits grounded to first, and Jennifer Whitley scores. It's 3-1. Second inning, though, Oak Grove takes control. Danielle Hoff smacks a deep fly that's good for a double. Ashley Clement scores, and Oak Grove goes on to win this one. Big final score, 11-1. They'll play their Evangel or St. Fred next time out. Well, Louisiana Tech had a huge weekend, sweeping Fresno State and taking over first place. And one of the stars of the weekend, Matt Lacey, Saturday's starter, named WAC Pitcher of the Week. Lacey pitched a complete game, 8-hit shutout in Tech's 1-0 victory. Well, with some great pitching in the Arklamas this weekend, ULM's James Stevens named the Southland Conference's Pitcher of the Week. Stevens threw a complete game 2-hitter in Saturday's 5-1 win over Southeastern. Finally today, it's good guys versus good guys. The police fireman football benefit game to benefit cerebral palsy of Louisiana and sickle cell anemia of Northeast Louisiana. Firing control early, it's Daniel Oberdorf with a nice interception and a nice return. Fire had a 7-0 lead. Second quarter, more points for Fire. The MPD might keep you safe on the streets, but that's a safety for Fire, 9-0. Back comes Monroe Police Department, though. Aaron Green with the interception right before halftime. His brother Jarvis plays for the New England Patriots, and big brother making little brother proud. Monroe Police Department comes back to win this one. Final score, 16-9. So it was a fun out there. I know we're both wearing red, but that doesn't mean that we were favoring the fire department over the police department. You don't know really who to root for. But,
hard to pick sides.
Right.
Thanks, Matt. And stick around. Chief Meteorologist Tom Pearson will have your 7-day forecast. Stay tuned.
It's Tribute Time sales event at Lee Edwards Mall.